Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here in the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. Chris Halicke here, going to wrap up the week with another kind of breakdown of a play / concept, whatever it is, but we're going to switch sides and go to the defensive side of the ball. The last couple days, we've looked at a couple drop back passing concepts, and now we're going to look at the defensive side. And one thing that was requested when I did a video explaining coverages was to go into a little bit more detail on some. And so this is just one little nugget on cover three. The Steelers run cover three more than anything else. At least that's what they did last year. They ran, no team in the league had a single high look more often than the Steelers last year. That's obviously cover one, cover three, where you have a safety, one safety high. So cover one, cover three, no team ran that look more often than the Steelers last year. And so here, so we're like, okay, well, how can you do everything outside of, okay, you've got, your three deep zones, and then you've got your four underneath, and that's just very basic, where, this guy's deep, this guy's here, and boom, 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 and boom. And there's your basic cover three, and it's very bland. And how do you disguise? Well, the Steelers kind of show here what you can do before the snap to disguise things. And you can also show how through those disguises you can utilize your weapons. This is 3rd and 11 here for the Falcons, and so you probably want to be in a coverage in which you're not going to allow anything deep. You don't want anything to go past the sticks, obviously, but you also have to protect to make sure that any catches underneath can't be caught and ran to also get to the first down marker, which is this yard line right here. It is the 16-yard line that they're trying to get to. So that's their first down marker. And so over just the sheer disguise here, if you look at this, what coverage do you think the Steelers are going to be in here? Well, I see these two high safeties right there, so this is making me think it's middle field open. If you see a too high look, this is probably middle field open. But you see these two defenders over here on this side, and then this one defender over there on that side. So this could be, a cover two zone in which, you have your two high, and then this guy is going to come down into this zone, and you can just have your typical, cover two zone. Maybe this is cover two man, where you have your two high, and he's just playing man coverage there. This is just man coverage, and you've got man, and this is just man, across the board. Who knows? This could also be cover six, where cover six, you're splitting the field in half, okay? And on this side, you are running cover four, which means you have quarters. You have two deep zones, and this is, where those two defenders are. And then on this side of the field, you're running cover two. So this guy right here would be responsible for this half deep, and then these two guys right here would be responsible for this quarter and this quarter. So that is cover six. It is a cover two plus cover four. So you're not quite sure what you're seeing when you see this. What ends up happening here is the Steelers end up being in cover three. So you've got your deep zone, your deep zone, your deep zone. This guy will take that. This safety rolls to there. And even if you think that, okay, well, he's the other deep defender right here, so he's going to go and get to that zone. Nope. It's actually this guy. He's going to drop all the way back. And then what ends up happening for cover three, you have your four zones underneath, is this guy goes to that zone, this guy goes to that zone, this guy goes to this zone, and then this safety comes down into that zone. And it's important to know these two zones right here. Let me do different colors. These zones right here, these are the hook curl. they can be some of the most vulnerable in cover 3 because a lot of middle field closed beaters will attack these two defenders, or at least one of those two defenders. All right, let's get rid of all that and watch this play out in slow motion. And you can see, this safety is even kind of dropping back a bit. He's dropping back, and then at the snap, he's dropping, and then nope, I'm actually going to come up. And this is Minkah Fitzpatrick, by the way. And notice, again, when you're watching Joey Porter Jr., watch Joey Porter Jr. If he's playing press, if this is any kind of press man coverage, or if he's covering this curl flat zone down here, he's not getting this kind of depth. I mean, he already, from the time that we're right there, he's at the 7-yard line, to the time the ball is snapped right there, he's already at the 9. So he's already 4 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then he continues to get depth immediately. That's not covering a curl flat zone, or just a flat, actually. If he were covering, if this is cover 3 and he were covering, you got those 4 zones and he were covering this zone, he's not going to get this kind of depth usually if there's nobody else back there. So Porter absolutely is the deep defender there. And then you can kind of see this play out. Again, you've got this guy, he's dropping back. This safety is rolling to the middle, and he's going back this way. So those are your 3 deep defenders. Now, this defensive back, I think it is, comes over here, and he's playing this curl flat kind of deep because, well, there's no running back to come out into the flat here. So those curl flat defenders, which are this guy and this guy, can afford to get a little deeper. And notice, when it gets to right here on this side, as the receiver continues to run, you can even see he kind of makes this motion all right, I'm passing you off. I'm giving you to the deeper defender. This other curl flat defender here, again, you're passing him off to the deep defender, and you're covering this curl flat area, but you can get a little bit deeper than you normally would, which is why you're covering a curl and a flat, because there is nobody up here. So at this point, we are at, again, deep, and deep right here. Now your hook curls are right here. Again, is Kirk Cousins seeing this right here? Because right now, this still looks like it's going to be cover 2 or some sort of middle field open. And so he's going to think, all right, at this point, I might be okay to throw this. Minkah is already up here, and he can then, as soon as he sees Cousins get rid of that football, he crashes down on the receiver, makes the tackle, short of the sticks. So you get disguises, and the Steelers do like to do, despite all the times that Minkah was the deep defender in cover 3, the Steelers do like to have Patrick Queen and Minkah Fitzpatrick as their 2 hook curl defenders in cover 3. Because this is your best coverage linebacker, and this is your best ball hawking safety. And that is an area of the field, especially when you disguise this where he is initially dropping back. It looks like he's one of the 2 high safeties, and then he actually ends up dropping down into this while this corner takes the deep third, and then you have your other deep defenders back here. So that's one way, just one way, the Steelers disguise cover 3 and use Minkah Fitzpatrick to their advantage. And here, Minkah and nobody else is necessarily trying to be any kind of ball hawk. It's 3rd and 11. Situational football also matters. It's 3rd and 11. We're not letting anybody get past that line right there. It's just not happening. I'm not letting anybody get past that. And notice where those 2 guys are. They're right there, right behind that line to make sure that nobody gets there. So situational football. Let's get the right amount of depth. That's Queen backing into that area. That's Minkah not selling this too much so that he can get up into that area. But also making sure, okay, we're going to settle down here. We're going to make sure. I mean, and listen, there's nobody else underneath here. And so when Cousins makes this throw, that's the best possible, that's the best option he had at that point. Maybe he could have been really bold and thrown this guy who's running what looks like some sort of skinny post. But if KZ reads that, he can jump that. So this is well covered up. And one of the reasons why is you get this. Everybody takes care of their zone. They disguise this well prior to the snap. So again, this is just one way. One way. There are a number of different ways. You can roll with, this corner going back and then these two other guys being your deep three. And then this guy would roll to the curl flat. This guy would roll to the hook curl. This guy would drop back into the hook curl, and this corner would get right there. And there's your cover three. There are a number of different ways that you can do this. There's sky, there's cloud, there's a number of different ways. But it's also what you're selling prior to the snap. Sometimes there's no selling. Sometimes we're showing cover three. We're going to roll with cover three. Sometimes you'll show cover one, but it's really going to be cover three, Like if this corner were up here and Porter were like really up against you, you're showing possibly cover two. But if this safety is down, close, then maybe you're showing only cover one. But what ends up actually happening is, these corners go deep, and now you're actually in cover three. So there are a number of different ways you can disguise. This is one way the Steelers disguise cover three because they like having Minkah Fitzpatrick being able to come down a little bit closer and make those plays. Again, no, it happened a lot last year where Minkah was the deep guy. He was this guy right here who ends up dropping and getting this far back from the line of scrimmage, being the last man back. But they do like to have Minkah be this guy right here, to be the hook curl defender in cover three. And when you pair that with Patrick Queen, who's a very good coverage linebacker in his own right, that's strength in the middle of the field. So anyway, hope that helped explain just one way the Steelers can disguise cover three. There are a number of different ways they can disguise stuff. We will go over more of that stuff in future Chalk Talks. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. Catch you guys on the flippity flip. We'll see you later.